I never imagined my marriage would end in chaos, let alone in violence. For years, I believed we had a decent life. Quiet, steady, predictable. Nothing glamorous, but stable. My wife, Jenna, was always somewhat distant, a little emotionally reserved, but I chalked it up to her introverted nature. We both had demanding full-time jobs, no children, and we kept ourselves preoccupied with work and occasional social gathering. Nothing ever screamed wrong until that anonymous text shattered the illusion. It came on an ordinary Wednesday afternoon while I sat at my desk, sipping cold coffee and slogging through emails. The message was blunt, sharp, and unforgiving. Your wife is seeing someone behind your back. Ask her about the guy she meets at the gym. My heart sank in my chest. At first, I wanted to dismiss it as some twisted prank. But the more I thought about it, the more certain memories began to line up in ways that made me nauseous. Jenna had recently become obsessed with going to the gym. 4 times a week, without fail. She started wearing tighter clothes, styling her hair, applying makeup before workouts, and she returned glowing, energized in a way I hadn't seen from her in years. That night, I didn't say a word. I just watched her, observed how her phone never left her hand, how her fingers moved quickly across the screen, while her lips curled into small private smiles she never seemed to have for me anymore. Over the next few days, I sharpened my focus. I combed through our phone bill. A single number kept appearing. Late at night, during her lunch breaks, even on weekends when she claimed she was out with her sister. My gut twisted as I dialed it. A man answered. His voice was casual at first, until I asked, "Do you know my wife?" There was a pause and then a laugh. Not mocking, just careless. "Oh," he said, "so you're the husband." Took you long enough. Then he hung up. I didn't tell Jenna. I called him. I didn't confront her. Instead, I waited, patient, cold, calculating. That Friday evening, when she left the gym with her usual gym bag and her usual lie, I followed from a distance. She didn't go to the gym. She drove to a quiet park on the edge of town, pulling into a half-empty parking lot where a man was already waiting. I stayed far enough not to be seen, but close enough to see everything. They kissed. They laughed. They sat in his car for nearly 2 hours, close together, her hand on his chest, his arm draped casually behind her seat like it had always belonged there. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't fall apart. I took pictures, clear ones. When she came home that night, I said nothing. I couldn't, not yet. I needed a plan. I didn't want rage. I wanted precision. I wanted her to feel what I felt. Shock, betrayal, and the slow, agonizing humiliation that seeps into your bones. The next morning, I scheduled a meeting with a divorce attorney. I quietly moved some money out of our joint accounts. I had a conversation with my boss, letting him know I might need time off. Then I began packing a few essentials and stashing them at a friend's house. I was careful, methodical. 3 days passed. Then came the explosion. It was a Saturday morning. Jenna and I were supposed to visit her parents. I acted as though everything was fine. She spent the car ride texting on her phone, barely acknowledging me. I knew exactly who she was messaging, but I smiled, made small talk, pretended. When we got home later that afternoon, I walked into the living room and found him, standing just outside our front door, bold and smug, like he belonged there. Jenna's expression when she saw him through the window twisted into panic. She rushed forward to intercept him, but I opened the door before she could reach me. Well, he said, grinning. "The husband. Let's talk man to man." He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. Jenna whispered harshly, asking what the hell he was doing, trying to shove him back. He ignored her completely, brushing her off like she was nothing more than background noise. He walked right up to me. He started talking. Said Jenna didn't love me. Said she had already moved on emotionally. Said I needed to let her go. That she deserved better. That he was doing me a favor by taking her off my hands. He stood there with that arrogant smirk, thinking he'd won. And then he said it. "You're just holding her back." That line lit something inside me. I didn't throw the first punch. He did. He shoved me hard in the chest. That was enough. The next few minutes were a whirlwind of chaos. We fought violently. Chairs were overturned. The coffee table was reduced to splinters. Picture frames shattered against the floor. Jenna screamed the entire time, trying to wedge herself between us. I don't remember how many hits I gave or received. I only remember the taste of blood on my lip, the crunch of his nose breaking under my knuckles, and the sickening crash when his body toppled into the television stand. Neighbors called the cops. When the police arrived, they found two bloody, disheveled men and a woman in hysterics. They separated us, calmed us down, asked their questions. Jenna tried to defend him at first, until her eyes landed on the photos I printed out and left on the coffee table, stained with splinters and dust. She went silent. I handed everything to the officers. Every picture, every record. They didn't arrest either of us, but they made it clear. If he came near me again, it wouldn't end with warnings. I walked out that night. Jenna tried to call. I ignored every attempt. The following morning, I sent her divorce papers along with a single message. You broke this. Live with it. She didn't protest. Not much. Not after reality set in. Her lover, her so-called soulmate, didn't last. When the dust settled, he ghosted her, blocked her number, vanished. I later heard she tried to track him down, desperate and broken. He wanted nothing to do with her. Jenna lost everything. Her marriage, her reputation, even her job. Turns out her workplace had little patience for scandal and public drama. She became a cautionary tale in our small social circles. I didn't feel bad. She'd made her choices. I had only brought them into the light. I moved into a new apartment, simple and quiet. Started focusing on myself again. For the first time in years, I felt weightless, free. People often say forgiveness is the key to healing, that letting go of resentment is the path to peace. But I don't agree, not in this case. My healing came from standing tall, from refusing to let her rewrite the narrative, from watching her world collapse under the weight of her own lies. Sometimes, peace doesn't come from forgiveness. Sometimes, it comes from destruction and walking away from the ruins with your head held high.